So with all of the constant price changes, the constant high balling, everything's just very difficult to get. Is there a set that people should actually collect? And yes, we can look at Japanese sets all day long, and yes, they all are going to be at a pretty decent price. Naturally, Japanese is always a great one, but realistically, there is some people that just don't want to change. The whole point of English sets is to have them in English, and I get that. And there is one set that I personally think, if you are starting into this hobby, if you are looking to try and complete a set, a normal, a base, a master, an illustration, this set, to be honest, is probably one of the better ones to stay at. Now, just to kind of give you the comparison between the Japanese and English version, we are talking about Journey Together. It is a pretty recent set, like naturally it's not necessarily been out too long, but just to show you the sheer difference in this, if you do look at what this set actually is, it normally is, and most of the time, will be comprised of two different sets. With obviously Journey Together, it was the Battle Partners, which was just a singular. So obviously if we look at Destined Rivals, it was Heatwave Arena and Glory of Team Rocket. Terrestrial Festival is Prismatic. With obviously Battle Partners, this was the sole set that came into Journey Together, as it was quite a cheap set. It was a set that was not necessarily as big as its counterparts. So if we do look at the high to low, you'll be able to see some cards are going to be in the region. Like we look at the Lilies Clefairy, still quite expensive, $145, but what you find is the vast majority are considerably cheaper. Realistically here, you're looking at 145, you got 44 for the Belly Bolt, you got 40 for the Enzorok, 30 for Salamence, and 22 for the Zorok. You've also then got 11 for the Volcanion, which is all of the SARs. They are predominantly going to be the most expensive out of the group. So if we was to do just some quick maths, we've got 180, we've got 220, then 250, 270, then we'll go 290 just because of the extra surplus. We're looking at 300, and then you kind of get a bit of change in here. Realistically, I think you're looking at about 400 for the set, and that's kind of been very rough with it. Obviously as well, in Japanese a lot of the time there is no reverse holos, so realistically you are looking at the common set and then just the illustrations. That is going to be what it is comprised of, but just to kind of keep them in your head, that is the Japanese counterpart. Now in terms of English, the reason why I personally like it is because a lot of people like the modern. I personally am a bit of both. I'm a big fan of all of the illustrations. I really enjoy all of the card arts that we are seeing now, and I also really like the vintage. It's nostalgic for me. It brings back a lot of memories of opening packs when I was a kid, and in general it's a nice set to try and get, but can be quite expensive. Now if we were to look at the pricing for the English, as you'll see, you've obviously got 173 for the Clefairy. You've then got 78 for Salamence, 61, 53, 40, 25, 24. So some things will be more, some things will be less. And a lot of the time Japanese will tend to be a less on the great deal of things. Obviously this is in dollars, so if we were to take you over to this site right here, this is kind of giving you a very rough breakdown, but the set at the moment is coming in, because it's coming in as the set value. This is a master set value. You are looking at £464 if you're looking at the basic. If you're looking at the master, you're looking at 494. That's going to include a lot of the reverse holos and all of that jazz, and then we've obviously got the expert set, which I believe is all the promos and everything like that. That's 524. Now to be able to get this at 460, if you was to just have a look around, like we look at a Destined Rivals, granted a lot more expensive in terms of how big the set is at 409 cards. You got 1,896. If we went back down to Stellar Crown, I think another fantastic one at 331. And then if you kind of keep going, you got Temporal Forces at 610. And you can kind of see that the theme goes on. I think Stellar Crown is absolutely brilliant, but the artwork in itself is great for some cards. I don't think it's necessarily the best for all. Even when you look at Shrouded Fable, still more expensive than Journey Together, and that was a small set. So in terms of what we're sleeping on here, there's some absolutely beautiful artworks. The illustrations and special illustration rares are very nice across the board. Like just even knowing there's a $25 Volcanion It's a stunning card. The Articuno is an absolute monster. You then got Ens Reshiram. You got the beautiful Whale Lord. There's even then a few more cutesy cards that you can find in there. Even a Wooloo that looks really nice. Lycanroc with all of the colours. I believe that this is a great set to look at, and most definitely a great set to start with. And you can go to this website. It is pokecardsvalue.co.uk. This will kind of give you the pricing of everything. Like if we look at 151, it gives you a rough understanding of what a value of a set could be. So if you have got a certain budget that you'd personally prefer and go and buy singles, you can kind of see what we've kind of got in there. We've got the what is that? That's the energy cards going in there. But say we got the base set. It's coming in at 422 for the basic, 448 for obviously the master, and you could maybe kind of challenge where you go next with it. And naturally you will have more expensive sets, like you look at White Flare 1938. Granted, most of that value is going to come from Victini and also Reshiram. Prismatic at 3653 for the master. Absolutely outrageous. And then even Mega Evolution, at the moment I wouldn't really kind of look at the value of that. We normally look at a kind of a 6-month period, and it's exactly why I personally say looking at this sort of set now is going to be really good, because naturally we've got a lot of data on it. We are seeing kind of like from the very start of March now all the way to October, we can kind of see a little bit here. You can see that it did go all the way down to a 127. Did I just see there? 127 being the absolute lowest. Now it has gone up a little bit more, so potentially waiting for that big card, which is pretty much half of the value, and just starting to potentially get the rest of them in. You can kind of see even just after a year, we're now having a little bit of a glow up again, so maybe it's a time to buy. Maybe it's a time to really kind of put some extra work in and trying to get some of the smaller cards in. And like I say, Lily's Clefairy you can wait on. It's literally, what, half of the value in total. We got, what, 494 in terms of the master set. So realistically, what, you're looking at 300 already spent, and then that would be the final card that you get in there. I personally would wait out for it. I do think it will drop down at some point, so naturally just waiting for that kind of come down a little bit more, it's a potential. And if you see it rising too much and maybe you do want to pull the trigger on it, then absolutely it's a chance that you can kind of take with this. But even just trying to collect a lot of the cheap cards now, there's so many that you can find that are just really easy to complete, and there is a lot of really cheap cards you can get. You look at the Lycanroc at $3. It realistically isn't really going anywhere. It's kind of just been around this sort of value for the whole time, so it's not necessarily even that much of a risk as such. When you do look at the likes of the Salamence, it's kind of been a little bit up and down. Like it is solely on the downwards trend, which is nice, and compared to what it was coming in at about 100, it is most definitely on the lower period more so than anything. So there is plenty of change that you can get with this set, and if you manage to just get a few of the SARs in there, or even potentially kind of like filter them in with a little bit of the Japanese, I don't think it's necessarily the worst thing. Whatever makes it the set for personally you, I would more than happy go and buy a $20 kind of Zoroark. I think the ones I've got left is Clefairy, Zoroark, and I want to say Zacian, and then Articuno, and then I think one gold card, and that's the whole set done then. So I don't even mind going out and buying them for that little bit cheaper. Even if they are in Japanese, they are the same card art. It's just dependent on if you want the full English set rather than a mix between the two. Depends on what personal style your collection is. But I do think when you do look at a few of these kind of really modern sets, they are most definitely more interesting than kind of just going for the brand new shiny thing. Looking back and seeing what is the value that you're getting back from them. When you look at a few of them, like you look at Paradox Rift, 673, it's a great set. It's a nice complete set that you'll be able to get. Obsidian Flames at 278, another very affordable set that you can get pretty much most of it for. I think the master set was coming in at 309, which is obviously including all the reverse hollows, and again most of it will be coming in relatively cheap. If we look to the bottom here, I think the biggest card will obviously be this one at 77. You think if you look at that value, you've got what, 309, so pretty much 200, and one card's that 77. I don't know if there's anything else that is there. You got 22 here, we've got 2, 11 for the Pidgeotto. We've got any other big cards in the set? I don't think. You've got 10. So even then, you're looking at maybe like 6 or 7 cards that have really hit the value. I can imagine Ninetales at 20. Obviously, Cleffa was a big one as well. You've probably got, what, 7 cards that are over that 20 to 10 value, and then the rest of them are affordable. You got 1, 1, 2, 3, 2, 1, 1. Like, there's so much value that you can get there, and you could just hold off on the rest of them. I think it's such an easy thing to do, and everybody does get kind of really mucked up in the brand new thing, looking at the Destined Rivals, looking at the black and white, now the Mega Evolution, and thinking, well, I need to get everything that's new. You can come back to it. Normally a 6-month period, like, look at that. Like that is just, I know the set isn't fully out for everybody, but it's absolutely nuts the value of some of this. Going for the older ones sometimes is a pretty decent deal to go with, to be honest, especially when they're on that lowest period. If you can get that finished, it's one that you can tick off and you can go to the next one. It's just a beautiful thing, and I think Journey Together is one that is personally just slept on because it was just there, you got a lot of stock, and then suddenly it was gone. But let me know your thoughts. What is that one set that you're trying to get right now? Is there a cheaper set out of there, maybe in the kind of Sun and Moon, and obviously there's a Sword and Shield? Is there any sets that you are currently going for? Leave it in the comments and catch you all for that next one. Peace.